Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for a link to my Amazon store where I've compiled some of the very best items available, including some of my own personal recommendations. Thanks! What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Spyderco Brouwer. This is a knife that the very first time I saw it, it was one of those times where I said, yep, I'm going to own that knife. And then for one reason or another, it just kind of got put on the back burner with other purchases. But thanks to @knifer_man or Andrew on Instagram, please give him a follow. Thanks to him, I am able to finally experience it. Please give him a follow. It's because of people like him that I'm able to bring you guys daily knife content. It's also because of my generous patrons who are supporting me. Thank you so much for supporting me during this time. If you'd like to check out my Patreon, get your hands on some of those stickers and some other exclusive benefits, the support would mean the world to me. Just follow that link. Anyways, let's go ahead and get a measurement on this guy. Overall length coming in at 6.75 inches overall. And then your blade length is actually under 3 inches, which is awesome. It's actually, I mean, if we're going to go, I feel like they're going to measure it from here. It's like 2.75 inches. In places, you could call it 2.85. Actual cutting edge is probably about 2.35, something like that. That, I think, was one of the things that held me back, because I was like, oh, I like big knives. I want a bigger knife, right? But I still thought, well, it's got that forward choil, so it would probably be an excellent EDC size. I just thought, when I saw this, I thought, oh, yeah, that's going to take the world by storm. And then it kind of slipped under the radar. Some people reviewed it, and a few people were underwhelmed by it. A few people really liked it. But I'm going to give you guys my thoughts. And by the way, there will be a link for this knife down in the description if you want to check it out. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Rat 1's coming in at 8.6 inches overall. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Spyderco PM2's coming in at 8.3 inches overall. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue's coming in at 8 inches overall. And last but not least, probably the best size comparison, the Spyderco Para 3. Spyderco Para 3 coming in at 7.25. This is why I like this knife so much in terms of the size and the ergonomics. The lines and where you put your fingers are very similar. Blade length and cutting edge are definitely larger on the Spyderco Para 3, but it is similar. And here's the benefit. This blade on the Brouwer is actually under 3 inches. So if you're living in a place where that's a length of question in terms of the law, yeah, again, I mean, to me, it's pretty... It's definitely under 3 inches, so yeah, you can carry this guy. So how's the action on this guy? It's running on phosphor bronze, which is another reason why I really like this thing. Titanium frame locks running on phosphor bronze are very functional. You can get them dirty, you can use them hard, and they're ready to go. It feels like phosphor bronze. It's very similar to any other knife that I've ever felt on phosphor bronze. It's smooth but not fall shut. Detent's tuned nicely. Give you guys a look here. Click, and it flies out. I mean, the engagement on the thumb hole is not as good as other Spydercos. The hole is a little bit sunk in there, but that's fine, and I can still engage it. If you're wearing gloves, it's going to be a little bit harder to engage, but it's fine. One of the benefits of the hole being sunk in like that is that the carry profile just becomes absolutely excellent. I'm going to let you guys know, this knife has an aftermarket lynch clip on it, which I love. The lynch clip and the MXG deep carry clips that are made for Spyderco knives solve a ton of issues. They're not really issues, but some of the minor frustrations that come along with the standard Spyderco clip. You can see here where this guy originally carried was not super great. It's not that big of a deal. It's a pretty small knife, but the lynch clip solved a lot of that. This knife also came with a very beautiful titanium scale that I've got my gross fingerprints all over. It's an aftermarket scale, something that Andrew had on it. And it's beautiful, but I wanted to experience this knife in its original form. I mean, truthfully, I probably would have found a titanium scale to put on it, but in any case, that's the case here. But yeah, the blade being sunk in like that and the hole being sunk in, you can see they've scalloped this area so that you do have easier engagement than if it wasn't scalloped. But the end result is that the carry profile on this thing is just ridiculous. Thickness up against like the Para 3. It's definitely thinner than the Para 3. It's nowhere near as tall as the PM2 or Para 3, two knives that have awkward carry profiles overall that nobody ever complains about. So there you go. This thing is a super winner in terms of carry profile. The blade stock thickness on this guy is also nowhere near the realm of robust. Let me go ahead and zero out the calipers here. Whoop. There we go. Whoop. There. Up. There we go. Blade stock thickness coming in at 115 thousandths. The build on this guy is G10 and titanium, but inside the G10 is a countersunk steel liner, which is what I love to see. I do not like knives that are all carbon fiber or all G10 on one side. I'm not going to say that I hate them. I just don't like them as much. I want that G10 or carbon fiber or FRN, Grivery, whatever you want to call it, whatever's on there. I want it reinforced by steel. I just do. Makes me feel better about the knife. The benefit to this type of build and the overall size of the knife, the thin nature, right, it comes in at 2.72 ounces, which is basically right on the money for the whole ounce and inch thing. You know, considering how this thing is made, it's running on phosphor bronze. You know, overall, the weight, you know, in terms of what you're getting as a tool is excellent. It's not just the weight. It's the profile and everything that you're getting. So that's further emphasized by the fact that it doesn't weigh anything. It's fine. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check on this guy. I already know the sizes because I took it apart. Get out my handy dandy WIA bit selector and WIA magnetic driver, 2 items that are very inexpensive and extremely recommendable. You can find those down in the Amazon store that I reference at the beginning of every single video. Just pull up in the store and look for knife maintenance. Go ahead and stick her in there. Pivot is going to be a T8, which is fine. And unfortunately, the handle screws are T6. Whoops, that's T7. Label your bits. I know. T6. T6, here we go. Yeah, T6 right there, T6 right there, T6, T6, T6 on the pocket clip screws, and then T8 on the head there. This does have that little Spyderco lanyard barrel, but rest assured, it is not the same issue as when you're taking apart a Para 3 or PM2. That sucks. Anybody who's done that, it is so hard to get that thing out of there without messing it up. It sucks. I hate doing that. On this guy, no, it's super easy. This thing is unbelievably simple to take apart. It was so friendly. I think I had this thing apart and back together in, it's like 5 minutes. No problem. Easy. I do not like T6 screws because you guys know, my complaints with them, they can strip easier than a T8. You know, if you have quality tools and you got a careful hand and you're confident and the thing's not, soaking in red Loctite or way too much blue Loctite, then you're going to be fine. And I honestly don't know how this one came from the factory, but taking a look at the screws, yeah, I don't think anybody's going to have an issue with that. So that's fine. If we get through everything, let's go ahead and talk about anatomy here. So what we have is a very simple dark green G10 scale. I don't know about you guys, I like dark green. So for me, this was instantly attractive. As far as I can tell, though, I don't think this comes in any other standard form, and I haven't seen a Sprint. I could be wrong about that. I like the dark forest green. I think it looks cool. I think a lot of people would have just preferred standard black G10. If you really want a custom scale from these guys made, I know Flytanium makes some, and I know some other people make some. I don't think it's a hyper complicated scale, so if you really didn't like that color, you could probably get a different one, or you could dye it. People use the RIT dye. It's pretty simple. So yeah, I think it looks great. Everything is nicely knocked down. It's got that peel ply texturing from Spyderco, which is great. It's not super aggressive, locks in the hand, but because this is a frame lock, it doesn't continue over to the other side, so you don't get that typical pocket frame that you sometimes get with Spyderco knives, which is excellent. Taking a look at the blade, you can see here it says Spyderco and CPM S30V. This is, by the way, made in Taichung, Taiwan, and it shows through in the build quality. Everything is nice. It's very, very simple, guys, but it's very well put together. Up here on the back of the blade, it's knocked down enough to where it's not catching my fingernails, and that's fine. It's got a satin finished, fully flat ground blade, which is hyper functional. It does come down to a very, very thin edge, and that's nice. Somebody looking for a general EDC knife that's built well, but isn't built in a way that, it suggests that it's made for doing a whole bunch more than just general EDC tasks, right? This is a super simple design, and it's great in that sense. This is a wonderful general EDC knife. That blade is going to do anything that you ask it to do, in terms of like, if you're cutting open a box, if you're getting into plastic, some rope, some rubber, or even some wood. I mean, it's going to be fine. My favorite thing about it is that it's super small, but you absolutely can get a full purchase on it, a full lock-in. Now, I imagine that the standard clip might have caused a little bit of an issue with that. That's another reason why I love these Lynch clips and these MXG deep carry clips that I've got on like the Para 3, is because they get rid of, you know, some of the frustrating little hot spots. It's never that big of a deal. It's only a problem if you're going to be cutting for like 30 minutes at a time and you're not wearing gloves, which is probably not going to be the case with this guy. It might be, you know, in which case maybe you do want to upgrade to the other clip, you know. But yeah, the original clip may have caused a little bit of a problem with that. I just love the blade. I really, really like the blade. Is so straightforward and ready to go. And you know what? It doesn't get like so thin out behind the tip that I'm worried about breaking it. S30V is good stuff. I mean, S30V is one of those steels that's made for a folding knife. Literally, it was designed specifically for folding knives. It holds an edge for a while. It's stainless. It's a good steel, right? Now, on the flip side of that, it's a steel that people are kind of bored of. And that is an element. I mean, like, will it serve the user well? Oh yeah, S30V is great. There's no reason to shy away from S30V, but I understand that it is kind of boring. I am somebody who uses my knives, and I am somebody who is also a knife enthusiast. So I have this this part of me I can't control where I'm like, what's the steel? Oh, okay, that's fine. It's not, you know, special, but you know, it's nice to see these new, like the LC200Ns and the Spy, is it Spy 27? The S45VNs, the Maximate, you know, it's fun, it's cool. Wow, I don't really need that steel, but it's neat that it's on there because it's different than the other 47 knives that I've got in S30V. And I know some people are rolling their eyes and they're like, okay, well, not everybody has 47 S30V knives, and I get that. If you're the type of person to only keep 1 or 2 knives, of course, you know, then just ignore what I'm saying. You don't have to listen to a crazy knife enthusiast. But for those of you who are knife collectors, knife enthusiasts, or, you know, users who just keep a lot of knives, I think you know what I'm saying. S30V is great, but it's kind of boring in today's knife world. And by the way, this isn't a super new knife, but it did come out during a time period where S30V was already kind of feeling stale. I know I'm really stuck on that, and I'm gonna circle back around to it. Yeah, everything here is great. And the finger choil is a full finger choil, meaning you can lock all the way in on it. There's nothing in the cutting path here, so you can choke right up, and it's wonderful. The ergonomic lines on this are great. The jimping is in a great place. It's typical Spyderco jimping. It's just wonderful. Like I said, everything nicely knocked down. There is a position on the left-handed side, you know, so you can switch the pocket clip over if you want, but it is still a right-handed frame lock. It is much more difficult to engage with the left hand using your thumb because there's nowhere near as much room over here to engage it as there is on this side. But people who, and I'm not fully ambidextrous, I've just fidgeted with so many knives. If you are left-handed, this knife is super easy to do that Spidey flick, right? It's so easy. In fact, somebody who is right-handed can easily manipulate it that way. But if you're right-handed, there's not enough room to engage it on this side, so you kind of have to use the thumb flick. In any case, you will always be able to get this knife out, right? If you're going to slow open it and you're left-handed, it's kind of that pinch open thing like this, and then you can wheel it out. Either way, it's easy to manipulate. It's just a little bit less convenient if you are left-handed. It does have a lanyard hole right here, which is not necessarily being prioritized over the pocket clip. It would have been nice if the holes were a little bit higher, but again, you know, if you want to get an aftermarket clip for it, it does kind of help that a little bit. But the typical position, or the standard position for the clip, was very much not deep carry. You know, there's a large percentage of the knife sticking out of your pocket, and it's always either a screw or the lanyard hole that gets in the way. I feel like we just could have moved these standoffs back here and it would have been just fine, and put the pocket clip maybe up here. I don't know. It's not that big of a deal. The titanium frame, or the titanium side, is bead blasted and it looks great. I kind of like bead blasted titanium on a user knife because I think snail trails look nice and they really show up on a bead blasted frame. If you're somebody who really likes to keep your knife super duper clean, you're not going to like that because, as you can see on this user knife, it is marked up, and that's going to be the case. You know, it's just eye of the beholder kind of thing. It does have a steel lock bar insert. In this case, it's engaging at almost exactly 50%. This knife did come back perfectly centered. I had no problems with that whatsoever. There's no blade play up, down, left, or right. I've noticed that the more I flick it, it is one of those knives where if you keep flicking it over and over and over again, you are going to have to tighten that screw back down. Not that big of a deal. Just put some blue Loctite in there. You're going to be okay. What was it? There was something else. There's some other point that I was going to make and I can't remember. Yeah, it's getting super smooth now. It probably actually needs to be adjusted again. But there's two things on this knife that really bother me. I mean, yeah, you know, it's got the T6 screws and the pocket clip wasn't in the best place, and, you know, okay. But those are things that most people can overlook. The two things that bother me are, number one, the price. This is made in Taichung, Taiwan, and they are known for very high-end, you know, very, you know, in terms of manufacturing quality, specifically with the Spyderco line, very good. Very good. I'm always impressed by Taichung, Taiwan, save just a couple of models. But the finish work on everything is very, very good. It is a very simple constructed knife. You know, there's not anything super extravagant going on here. They come in at $190. I might have been able to overlook that if we had maybe a different steel. Honestly, I thought for sure this was CTS XHP, which I do like more than S30V. CTS XHP or even S90V on this knife, S90V is not super duper tough, but when you have a blade that's thin and flat ground and obviously meant for simple cutting performance and continuous simple cutting performance, S90V would have been great on this knife. CTS XHP would have been great, right? There's a whole bunch of steels that would have been excellent. S30V has a few qualities that I think might not be 100% necessary. It's still an excellent steel for this knife. It's just, it's like, Taichung, Taiwan always uses those other cool steels, you know, those other interesting ones. And I'm kind of contradicting myself because S90V and CTS XHP are not new, but they certainly have a little bit more flair and a little more feeling of, you know, this is where maybe some of the extra money that I'm paying, right? It's like I've said in other videos, in my What's So Great About M390 Steel video, the vast majority of what you're paying for does not go directly into the steel. You will pay more for CTS XHP, S90V, M4, M390, some of those more exotic steels than S30V. It's not that much more, but it does help you feel good about spending a lot of money on a knife, right? This knife has a very similar build quality to a lot of the US, the standard, like the, you know, the Para 3, the PM2, the Manix 2. It's similar other than the fact that it's a titanium frame lock, which is going to make it a little bit more expensive. I just wanted to see a different steel on it. If we're going to stay with S30V, this knife would have been a lot more impressive to me at about $150. It would have felt a lot better at $180, $190 in CTS XHP and S90V. And I think that's part of the reason why maybe people didn't like it so much. It was that feeling of, I'm paying too much for this thing, and it's like the pocket clip wasn't in the best place initially, you know. So that's some of the little things, you know. If you like the design and you can overlook the things that I've been talking about here, then yeah, I mean, 100% you're gonna like this knife. I wish those things were a little bit different. You know, if you're going to go for this knife, I'm going to tell you right now, definitely get yourself one of the Lynch clips or the Spyderco, the MHG deep carry clips that are made to fit the PM2 and Manix 2. It definitely is going to make a world of difference, and it looks great. The best thing about this knife is that it is a straightforward, excellent EDC cutting tool. Excellent. This is a knife that just doesn't have any extra, there's nothing on the knife that doesn't need to be there. It's ready to go. It's going to serve you well. It's going to carry light. It's going to carry in just about any type of pant material. It weighs nothing. It's an excellent knife. So balancing those two things out, yeah, I wish it costs less. For a lot of people, in fact, I think for most people, that's going to kill it. But I can still recommend this knife. It's not one of my favorite Spydercos in the whole world, but I do like it. It is a great tool, 100%, and I can recommend it as a great tool. You got to be ready to spend a little bit more than I think it's worth, though. So it will be going on my most recommended knives playlist. Kniferman, again, thank you for sending this guy along. This was really fun to experience. I'm glad I got to play with it a little bit. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on this Metal Complex logo right here and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.